In our northern hemisphere, Earth is getting ready for winter. And it's also now, for us in the church, the season to include recognition of All Hallows Eve, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Day. And I think maybe we observe these holidays so that we can just get through the cold and the dark of the coming days. I think also that there's a sort of cosmic or mystical rightness that we as people of faith celebrate these holy days. They're not just holidays, but they're holy days. And we do this mainly because, and thanks to the early Christians who intertwined their understanding of resurrection and new life with the Celtic belief that these darker months that we enter into were a time of thin places. Thin places are places where heaven and earth can whisper to one another across a sort of luminous veil. And so those who walked before us are especially accessible during this time, in these late autumn days. That is the Celtic belief. Now, as the earth prepares for winter, she sheds what she no longer needs and moves inward. And so when the trees look dead and bare and the ground looks as if it has no life, there's always something going on inside. Now, I think as we enter into winter, it's sort of the opposite for us. We change our clocks just to preserve what little daylight extra there might possibly be. But what the Celts and those early Christians knew was that there's wisdom to be gained from sitting in darkness. Just as we stay in out of the cold, the darkness invites us to turn inward and reflect. It's a whole practice. It's a practice that I think that the whole world could benefit from because it allows us time away from frantic and frenetic pace that we seem to be surrounded by. Rainer Maria Rilke, who wrote a book of Hours, he offers us this wisdom. The darkness embraces everything. It lets me imagine a great presence stirring beside me. I believe in the night. The darkness embraces everything. It lets us imagine a great presence stirring beside us. This is the language of mystics. It's a language that embraces the mysteries of the faith. But I don't think it's a place where everyone feels comfortable. Mystics are those people, were and are those people who are okay with shades of gray in everything. They actually like the gray areas, when everyone around them needs the clarity of black and white, yes and no. So bear with me a moment as I say that the lengthening of the night, the darkness, it invites us to let go of everything we think we know about God. Can you imagine that? It invites us to let go of everything we think we know about God and let ourselves rest in what is called unknowing. Now, what do I mean by unknowing? Well, I think we've all probably touched the edge of this experience of unknowing, especially, I think, in times of great loss. When you've experienced something traumatic or tragic or great loss, you feel as if you're on the edge of a cliff about to step off into nothingness. There is nothing below you. It's that sort of unknowing that can help us recognize and relish what we do know for certain. So if unknowing is stepping off into thin air, then knowing is solid ground, right? But we need both. Just as we need the dark to be able to appreciate and recognize the light. Paul said in the book of Hebrews that we are surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses. It's kind of at least for me, that's sort of a comforting thought. we're reminded that we're always accompanied through life, not only by our God, but by those who have crossed over into the great night, as some have called the next life. So remembering today, celebrating All Souls with the feast of our Lord, is acknowledging that those who have gone on before us, their lives mattered. Alice Waters, in her book, In Search of Our Mother's Gardens, writes, and so our mothers and our grandmothers have more often than not anonymously handed on to us the creative spark, the seed of the flower they themselves never hoped to see, or like a sealed letter they could not plainly read. Each one of us have threads and seeds and sparks that are within us that come from those who have gone on before us. But now it's up to us to let them form and flower in our lives. So knowing the souls of our ancestors, our friends, our brothers and sisters in faith are there for us, knowing that these are there for us, can be food for our souls. Do you remember the story of Lazarus? Not the one where he's across the pit from the man suffering from fire, but the brother of Mary and Martha, who was very sick and dying. And they wrote to Jesus and said, come, our brother is dying. But Jesus didn't get there in time. But when Jesus did get there, he prayed to God to bring Lazarus from the tomb. Now, even if you're just hearing this story for the first time, you still may be encouraged to know that the God who answered Jesus' prayer in bringing Lazarus forth from the tomb, the God who raised Jesus from death, the God who promises us life eternal, this God is not finished yet. As the people here now, in place of our ancestors and who will one day be ancestors, we now, here in this place, are the instruments of God's resurrection life. We're the instruments of grace and God's power here and now. So in remembering, there is encouragement, there is hope, and there is always that reminder that we are not alone in this journey of life, in this journey of faith, and that we are inheritors of God's power, and it's up to us to pass it on